Today, in Europe, they openly said what many still stay silent about. The war in Ukraine could last another 3 years, and Trump failed to persuade Vladimir Putin to negotiate. Moreover, the European Union has developed a special strategy to prepare Europe for a large-scale war with the Russians. The European Union is preparing to launch a large-scale defense reform, which includes joint production of weapons and drones. Brussels wants to make Europe ready for war by 2030 at the latest. The document, reviewed by Bloomberg, provides for a large-scale overhaul of military planning and procurement in the European Union. According to the plan, by the end of 2027, the European Union should conduct 40% of its arms purchases jointly. This is more than twice the current level, and here's a telling point. As soon as the European Union revealed its defense strategy against the Russians, a Hungarian diplomat immediately rushed to Moscow to report Brussels' plans to Vladimir Putin. Nevertheless, Donald Trump continues to insist that he will be able to end Russia's war against Ukraine soon and will not allow a bigger war in Europe. And one of the French diplomats pointed out quite clearly that the United States and Europe remain partners, but they have different views on globalization, global threats, and defense. For Washington, the main challenge remains China, while for European countries the main concerns are security and the future of NATO. That's why Europe must prepare for a major war on its own, while Ukraine holds back the Russians on its territory. My name is Pechiy. Today is October 15th. And before we start this episode, I want to ask you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, give it a like, and please write a detailed comment under the episode. This really helps promote the video on YouTube, and I urge you to subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechiy News. The link is in the description of this video. And if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel financially, you can do so with any donation using the links and details in the description of this video. It says there, support Pechiy's channel. Then just choose any support option that's convenient for you. I will be grateful for any support you give to the work of this YouTube channel. So today the Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski stated that Europe must be ready for possible Russian strikes on the continent's territory. According to the minister, Russia is capable of striking deep into Europe, and European countries must be ready to counter this. Sikorski emphasized that the lack of anti-drone technologies and domestic production capabilities in this area would be a sign of irresponsibility today. The head of Polish diplomacy noted that European countries should plan to support Ukraine for at least another 3 years. According to him, this is exactly the period that the Ukrainian leadership is counting on. Sikorski says the Ukrainian leadership expects the war to continue for 3 more years. Sikorski expressed hope that United States President Donald Trump will still provide Ukraine with Tomahawk long-range cruise missiles, which can be used for pleasure. He added that in order to protect Europe, it is necessary to strengthen military assistance to Ukraine, especially in the area of air defense, as well as the supply of short and medium-range weapons. Sikorski pointed to the increasing cases of Russian drones appearing in the skies over Poland and combat aircraft over Estonia. Let me remind you here. Earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin called the claim that Moscow is preparing to attack other countries nonsense. But it's telling that nobody believes Putin anymore. The European Union is preparing to launch a large-scale defense reform that includes joint production of weapons and drones. Brussels wants to make Europe ready for war by 2030. The document, reviewed by Bloomberg, provides for a large-scale overhaul of military planning and procurement in the European Union. And so, according to this plan, by the end of 2027, the European Union should conduct 40% of its arms procurement jointly, that is, at the European Union level. By the way, this is more than twice the current level. In fact, this means that the European Union has developed and is implementing a defense strategy parallel to NATO, putting all of Europe on a war footing. And here I'll give a short quote from the document. Authoritarian states are interfering more in our societies and economies. Traditional allies and partners are shifting their focus to other regions. This is an important point. In Europe, it has become clear that the United States is shifting its focus from Europe to Asia. Today, the head of the French delegation to the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, Bertrand Boilly, stated directly that the United States and Europe, of course, remain partners, but they have different views on global threats and defense. For Washington, the main challenge remains China, while for European countries, the main concerns are still the security issues of NATO's future. Quote, yes, the relationship between Europe and the United States is still alive, but we have different views and goals. I think the United States is still concerned about China. The main topic for the United States is China, not Russia. Today, the main topic of Trump's communication with Europe is to tell Europeans that now you must take your future into your own hands. That is, now you have to pay for your own defense. Because we have another topic, and that's China. And now European countries must... We are not weak, but we are not coordinated. And so in the European Union document, it is emphasized that, quote, a militarized Russia poses a constant threat to European security in the foreseeable future. Therefore, European Union countries are being encouraged to coordinate military spending and quickly form coalitions to implement joint defense programs. The Commission expects that such efforts should begin as early as next year. If Europe wants to be ready for combat operations by 2030, this plan will be presented publicly as soon as tomorrow, October 16. So you're among the first to hear about this plan? And as noted in the document, the overall European Union defense budget has almost doubled since 2021, from 218 billion euros to a projected 392 billion euros in 2025. However, spending remains fragmented, which hinders the rapid modernization of weaponry. That's why the new strategy provides for the creation of joint projects on air defense systems, missile defense, drones, and anti-drone technologies. By the beginning of 2026, coalitions should be formed to manage these initiatives, and the launch of the projects is scheduled for mid-2026. To make a clear analogy, I'll mention Airbus, those very airplanes that are produced by several countries of the European Union. The European Union countries eventually decided they needed their own civil aircraft. And since each country on its own wouldn't have been able to create it, they decided to form a sort of consortium of several countries, which is how Airbus is produced. The European Commission now proposes the same weapons creation and production scheme for the entire European Union. The plan also includes creating a fund of up to 1 billion euros by 2026, together with the European Investment Bank to support defense development, meaning startups. A fund of 150 billion euros has already been approved to finance larger-scale programs, which is distributed among various projects. In addition, the European Union plans to launch flagship initiatives such as European Drone Defense and Eastern Flank Watch, which will take into account Ukraine's experience in repelling Russian attacks. These programs are scheduled to start in 2026, and a full-fledged drone system across the continent should be operational by 2027. And all of this really changes the situation. The European Union has traditionally played a secondary role in defense matters, yielding leadership to NATO. However, the new plan involves increased coordination and centralization of decisions, which could change the balance of power within the European Union. Strangely enough, the European Union is assuming NATO's functions. Importantly, Europe has listened to Donald Trump. Its security is now in its own hands, and Europe is preparing for a major war. Now, as they say, watch closely. Tomorrow, October 16th, the European Commission will publicly and officially present this rearmament plan in Brussels. And today, October 15th, the Hungarian Foreign Minister Pechiy urgently flew to Moscow to report to his Kremlin masters about what exactly is being negotiated within the European Union. Pechiy started complaining that his country would supposedly suffer if it lost access to Russian energy resources. Quote, we have never been deceived by Russia. Supplies always arrived, contracts always fulfilled. My only question is, why break off these relations? What happens next? Pechiy stated directly that Europe is preparing for a big war, but Budapest does not support this, so they will report everything to Moscow in order to disrupt Brussels' defense plans. These are the kinds of ministers inside the European Union, I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode as usual. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.